you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of Black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
One of the candidates running for president on the Republican side of the ledger compared the remarks of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley to that of remarks made by the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. I am not making this up.
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints or your
You didn't just say they
ideas.
would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Pressley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my views, that is wrong. It is divisive. It is driving hate in this country. This is dividing our country to a breaking point.
That is a debate that is based on nonviolent discussion.
Now listen, I've heard of doing all that you can to win, like running really hard, working really hard, going hard charging, doing everything that you need to do to win a race. But you got to draw a line when somebody is willing to do anything.
First of all, you know that you do not analogize a Black member of Congress or a Black anybody to a member of the KKK. You know that.
If Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley lived 100,000 lifetimes, nothing she has ever said or will say into the future can be compared to anything that any grand wizard of the KKK has ever done and has ever said. But if you listen to Ramaswamy, the two are on equal footings. And that, America, is dangerous. This candidate for president on the GOP side is dangerous. Let's go deeper.
You know,
let's be intellectually honest.
Hakeem Jeffries, but you know that's not a place to go.
Hakeem Jeffries in a much more
that's not uniting.
Let me just be honest with you, Chris. I think the way we unite this country is having more open conversations in this country. There is a gap between what people are willing to say in private and what people are willing to say in public. And I think the way we get to national unity is by opening up those conversations and closing that gap. Some people think the way we get to national unity is by showing up in the middle and compromising. Good people believe this, even in the Republican Party. I reject that. I think the way we're going to unite this country is by reviving the principles that unite all of us as Americans across our diversity, being uncompromising about those principles. Those are radical principles, Chris. This nation was founded on free speech, open debate, self-governance, the unapologetic pursuit of excellence.
Ramaswamy has certainly shown himself to have a callous indifference for the suffering of Black Americans, in particular, African American descendants of enslaved people. When he was asked by Dana Bash about the shootings that recently happened in Jacksonville, the racially motivated shootings, we know that they were racially motivated and anti-Black because the shooter left a manifesto that made it very clear that he was out to kill Black people. Unfortunately, 3 Black people did lose their lives. 2 Black men and 1 Black woman. They all lost their lives because of white supremacy, anti-Black bigotry that this person, this 20-something-year-old, was willing to take out using a gun. Now, Ramaswamy was asked about this shooting, and instead of showing some type of empathy, he stuck with his standard anti-Black talking points, really making light of the shooting. That's number one. And then talking about white supremacy, I think he called it a unicorn.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner.
And maybe those exist too.
What Ramaswamy deliberately fails to understand is that his particular brand of anti-blackness is on the rise. He has the luxury of discounting the experiences of black people in this country. He has the luxury of trying to compare the history of those who are descendants of enslaved people as if it is a history that can be superimposed on any other person that is black or brown without regard for the struggle, for the strife, for the inhumane treatment. And that's explaining it lightly. The inhumane treatment of African Americans who descended from enslaved people. To cavalierly say that the Congresswoman's comments can be compared to that of the KKK Grand Wizard is stunningly insulting. And he owes her an apology, and he owes every other African American in this country an apology as well. It should disqualify him from running. And just because Ramaswamy is a fast talker, he likes to talk over people to make his points, do not make his points true. He even admitted in one of his interviews that his statement was a fringe comment. Oh, it was a fringe comment indeed, but he insists that he made that comment to stir debate. I can think of many other productive ways to have debates about white supremacy and anti-black bigotry and racism in this country, but that is not his goal. His goal is to seize the part of the Trump base that gets off on this type of rhetoric. And he does it at the expense of black people because he does not care. I guess he doesn't understand the deepness and the depthness of the history, the struggle and the triumph of black people in this country. Certainly, he knows nothing about the race riots that broke out in the summer of 1919, known as the Red Summer of 1919, because in over 36 cities in this country, white terrorist violence against black people ensued. Or does he not understand that in the 19th and 20th centuries, how black people were terrorized and lynched? No, he doesn't know any of that. He doesn't understand it because it doesn't fit the rhetoric that he needs to try to become Trump Jr. Watch out to the real Trump Jr. Ramaswamy is coming for your spot, baby. Or maybe is it that he's auditioning to be the vice presidential candidate? Whatever it is that he is doing in the political realm, make no mistake, or to ingratiate himself to Trump voters, make no mistake. This man is dangerous. He is ill-informed, and he will do anything to try to win the race. His candidacy is a stain. It is a blemish. He should be ashamed of himself, but he's too arrogant to do so. He is running a race and using rhetoric at the expense of the African American community in these United States of America. And it is wrong, and he needs to be fiercely called out on it. And no self-respecting black person should ever vote for this man.